Okay, let's start with number 1. What's the measure of each exterior angle of a regular hexagon? How many sides are in a hexagon? 6. And what's the total measure of the exterior angles? So how do we find each measure? 360 divided by the sides, so 360 divided by 6, and we get 60. What's the measure of each interior angle of a regular nonagon? How many sides are in a nonagon? 9. So how do we find each interior angle? 9 minus 2 times 180 divided by 9. Remember, if it says each, we are going to divide. So what'd you guys get? 140? Perfect. Number 3, what's the sum of the exterior angles of an octagon? How many sides are in an octagon? 8. And this one's asking us for the sum of the exterior. So what's the sum of the exterior angles of an octagon? 360. Remember, the sum of the exterior is always 360. What is the sum of the exterior of a dodecagon? 360. Again, sum of the exterior is always 360. Dodecagon is 12. A decagon is 10. So 2 different shapes. What is the value of x? So how many sides do we have in this shape here? 6. And are we dealing with interior angles or exterior? Exterior. So how do we find the sum? So all of our exterior angles added together. What's it going to be? 360. So 360 is the sum of all the exterior angles. So we would just add all the exterior angles. So x plus x plus x plus x plus x plus x. So we have 360 is equal to 6x. We just divide by 6. And what do we get for x? 60. Any questions on the first page? Great, let's go to the next one. One thing that I forgot to add about 6.1, so just one thing that's missing, is the sum of the interior angles is n minus 2 times 180. So just remember, this is the sum of the interior angles. Okay, let's go on to 6.2. Number 6, ABCD is a parallelogram. What is the value for x? How do we find x? Alexis.
I don't know if it's right, but what I did was that I put 14x equal to 4x plus 20.
Perfect. 14x is equal to 4x plus 20. We know that the sides of a parallelogram are going to be equal. So since it tells us that this is a parallelogram, we know that the opposite sides are equal. So we just set the two equal to each other. And then we solve for x. So we can subtract 4x from both sides. And we get 10x is equal to 20. And we divide by 10. And what do you guys get for x? 2. All right, number 7, ABCD is a parallelogram. What's the value of x? How do we find x here? Set what equal to each other? Right, because we know that the parts of the diagonal are going to be equal. So 25 is equal to 2x minus 5. And then we just solve for x. What do you guys get for x? 15. Perfect. Number 8. ABCD is a parallelogram. Find the measure of angle B. What do we need to do here? What type of angles are A and B? Supplementary, because they're consecutive angles. So A and C would be opposite, but since A and B are next to each other, they're consecutive. And we know consecutive angles add up to 180. So what would our formula be here, our equation? Perfect, so we add them and set them equal to 180. So 3x plus 2x is 5x, plus 12 is equal to 180. Then we subtract 12. We get 5x is equal to 168. And divide by 5. What do you guys get for x? On the tests, if there's a fraction, you could just leave it like this, because you guys won't have your calculator. So just make sure it's in simplest form, but we can't divide 168 by 5, so we can just leave it as 168 over 5. Oh, but the question's asking for the measure of angle B, right? So are we done? No. What do we need to do? Plug it in. So we can take 33.6 and plug it into 2x plus 12. And we have 2 times 33.6 plus 12. And what do you guys get for angle B? 79.2. Perfect. So 79.2 is our answer. Any questions on this one? Ready for the next? Name the 5 ways we know a quadrilateral is a parallelogram. Sophia, what's one way that we know a quadrilateral is a parallelogram?
Both pairs of opposite sides are parallel.
Perfect, so both pairs of opposite sides are parallel. Peter, what's another way?
Like they're all congruent.
Both pairs of opposite sides are congruent. Alexis?
The diagonals bisect each other.
If the diagonals bisect each other. Nicolene, what's another way?
Opposite angles are
Opposite angles are
congruent.
congruent. And Carolina, what's another way?
The diagonals bisect each other.
We already got that one.
Opposite sides are congruent and parallel.
One pair of opposite sides are both congruent and parallel. Perfect. All right, any questions from this page? Ready for the next one? All right, 6.4. ABCD is a rectangle. OD is 5. AB is 6. And BC is 8. What is AC? 10. In a rectangle, we know that every single piece of the diagonal is going to be congruent. So AO is 5 and OC is 5. So AC would be 10. Perfect. So them telling us that AB is 6 and BC is 8 doesn't even matter. We didn't even need that information to find AC. Let's go to 11. ABC is a rhombus. Angle ABC is 120. What is the measure of ABD? So this angle here is 120, and it's asking us for ABD. Perfect, 60. So in a rhombus, all the diagonals bisect the angles. So this segment here is cutting 120 in half into 60 and 60. So ABD would be 60. Number 12. What is the measure of angle C if ABCD is a parallelogram? 90. Right, because if it's a parallelogram, what do we know about opposite angles? They're congruent. So angle C is also 90. What would angle B be? 90. How'd you know that?
Because we have all angles in a square position.
But is it a square?
Oh, parallelogram.
It's a parallelogram. So what do we know about the consecutive angles in a parallelogram? So consecutive angles equal 180. So if we have one of them is 90, we're going to know that the other one's 90 too. So then what's angle D going to be? 90 also. So what type of shape is this? We have 4 right angles. What type of parallelogram? Well, the type of quadrilateral is the parallelogram, but more specifically, is it a rectangle, a rhombus, or square, or a kite, or trapezoid? A rectangle. We don't know if all the sides are equal. We don't know that. But we do know that we have 4 right angles, so it is definitely a rectangle. I don't think so, but that's something you should know. Okay, 13. ABCD is a rhombus. What is the value of x? I guess I forgot to label this, but this is ABCD. So how do we find x here? It's equal to 90. Because a rhombus, the diagonals are perpendicular. So if this angle here is 90, we just set 5x plus 40 equal to 90. Then how do we solve for x? So what'd you guys get for x? 10. Perfect. Okay, 14. ABCD is a rectangle. What is BD and OC? OC is 39, right? Because we know that these two are going to be congruent. And BD is 78. Perfect. Because in a rectangle, all four parts of the diagonals are equal. So this is 39, this is 39, and this is 39. And BD is this whole segment, so we add 39 plus 39. So we get 78. Okay, any questions on this page? Ready for the next one? 6.6. DAO is 29 degrees. What is the measure of ADO? So we start at D, then we go to A, then O. So this angle here is 29. And it's asking us for the measure of ADO. So it's asking us for this measure here. What type of shape is this? A kite. And what do we know about the diagonals of a kite? They intersect at 90, so this right here is a right angle. So if we look at this as a triangle, we have two of the angles in the triangle, but we need the third. So how can we find the third angle in the triangle? Perfect. So what's 90 plus 29? So now we do 180 minus 119. And what do we get? 61. So ADO is 61 degrees. So remember, the diagonals in a kite are perpendicular. What else has perpendicular diagonals? What else has perpendicular diagonals? So it's either, we know a kite does, a trapezoid, a rhombus, a rectangle, or a square. A rhombus. A rhombus has perpendicular diagonals too. And what does perpendicular mean? Not bisect. What does perpendicular mean? They intersect at 90 degrees. Okay, let's go to 16. In trapezoid ABCD, what is the measure of angle B, angle C, and angle D? So, which one do you guys want to start with? C? What's the measure of angle C? Okay, just looking at it, is angle C bigger than 90? What type of angle is this? Obtuse. So it's definitely not 51, because 51 is acute. D is 51. Since we have two congruent tick marks here, two congruent legs of the trapezoid, we know this is an isosceles trapezoid, so the base angles are going to be congruent to each other. So A and D are congruent to each other, and B and C are congruent to each other. This only works in an isosceles trapezoid. How do we find the measure of angle B, Kennedy? 180 minus 51. And what'd you get? 129. So angle B is 129 degrees, and what would angle C be? 129 also.
I did something different than the same answer.
What'd you do?
I don't know why, but I did a 102 plus 2x equals 260.
That's a good way to think of it too, because B and C are the same thing, so we can call them both x. We know all four of these angles are going to add up to 360. So if we add x plus 51 plus 51, we'll get 360. Why did they equal 360? Right, because it's a quadrilateral. There's four sides, so the interior angles are going to equal 360. So we have 102 plus 2x is equal to 360. So we just subtract 102. So you get 258 is equal to 2x, and then you just divide by 2. So x is equal to 129. So it's just a different way of doing it. All right, ready for 17? What is the length of the mid segment of ABCD? How do we find the length of a mid segment? Right, so we add the top and bottom, so 24 plus 60, and divide it by 2, or multiply by 1/2. So 24 plus 60 is 84 divided by 2, and 84 divided by 2 is 42. So the measure of our mid-segment is 42. ABCD is a kite. Angle OAB is equal to 40. Angle OCB is equal to 30. What is the measure of angle ABC? Okay, so AOB is 40. And OCB
It's
OAB. Okay, so OAB is 40, good catch, and OCB is 30. What is the measure of ABC? So we're looking for this angle up here. How can we find that angle? So what are we adding?
40 plus 30 plus x equals 180.
Perfect. So we see that this is one big triangle up here. And we have two of the angles of the triangle, 40 and 30, so we just need to find the third one. So 40 plus 30 plus x is going to be equal to 180, because a triangle equals 180. So we have 70. So we subtract 70 on both sides, and we get x is equal to what? 110. Perfect. How can we find the measure of AGC?
Wouldn't it be the same thing?
Same thing. This would also be 110. Because in a kite, we have exactly one pair of congruent angles. which is this one and this one. Any questions on this page? All right, last page. XY is the midsegment of trapezoid ABCD. Find AD. So here it gives us one of the bases and the midsegment, and we have to find the other base. So what do we do?
Multiply 16 times 2. Because if we have
16 is half of 10 plus whatever this is. So let's call AD X. What's our formula to find the midsegment?
You do the top, and then you add them, and you add them.
So the top plus the bottom, so 10 plus X divided by 2, and that's going to be equal to our midsegment. But here it gives us a number for our midsegment, which is 16. So now we just have to solve this equation. So I just plugged in all the numbers that we had into the formula and got an equation. Now we just solve for X. So what do we do here to solve for X? What do we do first? What do we do?
You just divide, and then, you just divide 10 by 2, so 5 plus x equals 16 or 1?
No.
You divide both sides.
So the left side's being divided. So how do we get rid of that 2 on the bottom? Multiply. So we need to multiply both sides by 2. So it cancels out on the left side. So we get 10 plus x is equal to 32. Now what do? Subtract 10 from both sides. So we get x is equal to 22. So the length of AD is 22. Okay, last question. What's the perimeter of kite ABCD if 3 sides are 5, 7, and 5? So if we have a kite, we know that these 2 sides are going to be equal and these 2 are going to be equal. So let's say this one's 5 and this one's 5 and this one's 7. What does our 4th side have to be? 7. And how do we find the perimeter? Add them all together. So we add 7 plus 5 plus 5 plus 7, and what do we get? 24. Any questions?